gonna let YouTube catch up. I'm gonna let folks that are just getting in here get in here. I'm gonna take a few minutes. I'm gonna talk about a couple of short things before we get to the topic. I just put a link in chat. That live stream is literally just finishing up, but if you're interested in kind of watching stories and all sorts of stuff, Dr. Wayne Leibel passed away. For those that don't know, he is a really big cichlids of the Americas, but South America and Central America kind of guy, right? Let me actually, I'll link a couple books he wrote. He's got some really great books that are available on Amazon. So this is his South American cichlids book. And then he has another that's just Cichlids of the Americas, which is this bad boy right here. And I just want to give a little love to him because this is a guy who had a lot of impact on many people's lives. As a speaker, just overall good person. I linked earlier to the Mad Aquarist. That's Chris Biggs. He did a 2-hour live stream. It literally is like finishing it up now. If it's not already done, he's finishing it up now. Kind of celebrating his life, having people share their stories, all that kind of stuff. And yes, for FTC purposes, those are paid links. I'm an Amazon affiliate. I earn a commission if you make a purchase using those links. Thank you, FTC. Let's have all that fun. I kind of want to start there. Just, it's a somber day for many reasons. And I'm going to ask you guys, please, as we're getting into chat, for those of you who may know some of the stuff that is going on, please, 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 let's try to avoid using the names of YouTube channels. This isn't because of any fear. I want to be very clear. I'm not worried about that. I think what I'm going to talk about will make a lot of sense in a second. Okay? So, FishTube as a whole is a really great place. We have an amazing plethora of creators who cover seemingly everything you could ever want to do in this hobby. However, FishTube also has a massive problem. Some recent events have happened where some FishTube creators have had rocky incidents, we'll put it that way, and things are being done that aren't on the up and up, right? They're not good to the other FishTube creators they're interacting with. And I think the flaw here is not necessarily actions of what a person took. While I personally think that they're terrible, that's not the point. The point is this, and I had a conversation with a friend, actually, who is probably not who you guys think. Again, I'm not going to mention names. I want to be really clear about this. But someone who's not in the United States. Okay? And we discussed how some people cannot handle criticism of any form. And to me, that's actually one of the biggest problems that we can have with FishTube. Let me explain. Okay? If we don't look at things critically, if we don't question things, if we don't question ourselves, if we aren't willing to receive criticism, we are failing this hobby as a whole. Many of you know that I've made my fair share of mistakes, and I am quite happy to point them out. So there's a reason behind these things. The reason is simple. I talked recently about how failure and the most painful failures teach us the best lessons. And I feel it's necessary to talk about that again, because everyone has a different perspective, a different nugget of knowledge. I have learned things from people in my members only Discord that I did not know. And while many of you come to me like, right, I'm we'll puff our chests here. You know, I've become a master aquatic horticulturalist through the Greater Seattle Aquarium Society 9 times. Almost 10 now. I still constantly learn things about plants from other people who have other experiences, who have tried other things, live in different water conditions. My recent tip video that went out last weekend, the tip about keeping Pogostemon erectus in hard water came from a viewer. It was not something I knew until I got a comment, because I live in soft water, so I don't have that experience. This also, and more importantly, happens when we're critical of each other. If you guys see me screw something up, I hope that people will explain those things. Right? Because it's so important that we not only receive criticism, but that we are our biggest critics. Because if we isolate ourselves away from that, there's no possibility to learn. There's no possibility to grow. It is so important that we open ourselves up to criticism. Especially us idiots who run FishTube, YouTube, whatever channels. If we are unable to receive criticism, no matter what it's for. Like, I can tell you this. I've had multiple people, you know, and there are some people out there that are terrible, right? You've got people that'll take a crack at, like, how you look, or your weight, or this, or that, how you dress. All right, that crap doesn't matter. And I'm going to do my best to refrain from using names, but it doesn't necessarily mean that I won't necessarily have some level of emotion to feel here, and not a breakdown or any anger, but I'm gonna try to hold back some anger. We'll put it that way, because when I see people, especially when you get to if you have 100,000 subscribers, if you have 200,000, 300,000, whatever it may be, when you start getting those upper echelons, like my channel is tiny compared to a lot of people out there. However, I get an opportunity to interact with folks like you that are all here in chat, right? I get an opportunity for those of you watching in the replay to have conversations back and forth. As much as I get to teach, I get to learn. That constantly elevates my capability, not only as someone who's trying to create education or create tip videos, review things, but it also lends to my own capability to keep fish, to keep plants, to use equipment, what have you. Everything around the aquarium hobby. The second we shut ourselves off from that, we fail everything. We fail ourselves. We fail those in our audience. We fail the fish we keep, the plants we keep, whatever it may be. The second that we close ourselves off from some criticism, we fail. And I want to thank you guys. So I know this is not the usual topic, and I know there are a lot of people who both don't know what's going on and know what's going on, and it sucks, right? The whole situation that is spawning this conversation sucks. But for those of you being fantastic in chat, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Again, I'm going to keep saying, let's try to refrain from mentioning channel names. I really, really, really want to avoid the drama side of this and look at it from a lens of understanding the most important lesson from anything like this that happens, right? John Martinez, great quote from Sam Walton. You can grow plants in any aquarium so long as it's a 10-gallon with a common pleco, right? You can do all sorts of things, but you hinder yourself and you hinder your audience, you hinder everything. One of the most important things that I think often we YouTube, FishTube creators, whatever that is, take for granted, it is the necessity to look at ourselves more critically than anyone else will. And the second we receive criticism, not to be defensive, but instead to look at it, analyze it, and understand where we can grow. And for those of us who like to educate, understand where we can teach a lesson so that lesson, that understanding, that increase in our own skills goes to everyone. We benefit the hobby when we teach as much as we possibly can, whether it's at a local club, your local fish store, YouTube, whatever it may be. The more that we withhold information, or more importantly, shut ourselves off from information, the greater the disservice we do to something that we love. If we love this hobby, if we truly love this hobby, and I know all you people in chat do, if you listen to me ramble about stuff, you love this hobby, because I ramble way too long. A side tangent, but I think it's important. Some of the best comments I've had recently in videos were people saying how much they appreciated the short tip videos, because it was easy for them to very quickly learn something, right? And my goal with those like 5 tip style videos, and I swear somebody's gonna call it a top 5. Ooh, I know it's gonna happen. But my goal with those is to make them short and sweet, because I normally am extremely talkative. We know this. I don't shut up, right? I go more in depth than I probably ever need to. But that's who I am. And we do an immense disservice to this hobby that we love. If you're putting up with me babbling about like an aquarium filter for 30 minutes, you love this hobby. But the second we tune ourselves off from criticism, from looking at our failures, where we can improve, where we can teach, every part of our lives is a lesson in one way, shape, or form. The good and the bad, but the bad teaches us so much more. Failure hurts. And there is something just inane to the human life where when it hurts, whether it's our pride or physical, some emotionally, whatever it may be, we tend to learn the most. Me, I never want to stop learning. There are legends in our hobby. Dr. Wayne, who just passed away, who probably have forgotten more than I will ever know. But that will never stop me from trying to continually elevate my capability as a fish keeper, as an aquarist, and to pass that knowledge to those around me. Because the more that we teach people, the more likely other people will become interested in something that we love. My favorite thing in the world, part of the reason I created a YouTube channel, and this is actually what I was talking to my friend in the UK, well, I consider him a friend, was my favorite part about YouTube is once a week, I get to babble fish with people. And every so often, whenever human malware is done, I get to go in person with people and babble fish for a night. I love that. I love fish keeping. And I love talking about fish. I cannot tell you the number of times I have been around other fish keepers that will talk about anything that isn't fish. And my request will be like, hey, I know we talk about fish a lot, but can we talk about fish? Because those are the people who understand my nerdy hobby, right? This is such a niche hobby to find other people that are as passionate about it as us, that strive the way we do. You almost don't ever want those times when you're hanging out to stop, right? It's my favorite part of FishTube, is the massive online community that we can create to talk about fish. But when one of us, or any of us, shuts ourselves off from learning, even if it's you do something dumb, be a jerk, kill a fish, kill a plant, whatever it may be, do something dumb, and you don't learn the lesson from it, you do a disservice not only to yourself, but to our hobby as a whole, in one way, shape, or form. Because almost every time we do something dumb, there is some great positive lesson to be learned. There is something in that thing where we did something dumb that is positive, that is interesting, that we can use and other people can learn from, enjoy, whatever it may be. But when we turn ourselves off to that one part and ignore everything else surrounding it, we fail. We fail in a way that has no benefit whatsoever. That's my topic tonight. FishTube has a problem. It really does. There are a few, not many, who do this. However, thankfully, a lot of us in FishTube, good people, having fun, babbling fish, learning lessons, teaching our friends, so that we all can be better aquarists. That's it. And I know, like, some of you really probably want, like, a more of a hot take out of this, but I think there's a more important lesson learned from when dumb drama stuff occurs anywhere. The drama is not what teaches us anything. It's easy to get hooked on that stuff, but we lose sight of the more important thing when we do. I personally live a life where it's like, I don't care who you are, color your skin, your creed, who you vote for, whatever. I don't care about any of that. All I care about is you're a good person, and if you like fish, we talk fish. Because I love talking fish. Yeah, I live my life by that. That whole golden rule, treat others the way you want to be treated. My life credo. And I want to talk fish. So with that being said, let's talk fish. If you have questions, makes it super easy. At Bentley Pasco, highlights it. We will start the question and answer session. If for some reason I miss your question, bentley.pasco@gmail.com is my email. Right now, it's about 3 to 4 days for me to get back to people. But I do get back to everybody. And sometimes it's a long back and forth. We have all sorts of interesting education to do, learning about stuff, fixing problems, talking algae, all kinds of nonsense. So, let's, I had a question earlier. I want to grab that before I hit that one from Cancer Train. I'll get this from Raphael just because it's a good comment. One of the best ways to continue to truly learn is to teach, or at least try to teach, shared knowledge. I've learned a ton whenever I've tried to help others with their problems. Yeah, very often we learn, like, it's a question we didn't ask that one time before, or this time that is, that, like, finally puts the last piece of the puzzle in there, and we learn that, like, next time I need to ask that thing, right? And a lot of stuff like that happens all the time in this hobby, because this hobby is a crazy amount of science, right? It's just how life is. Now, there's a question super early in chat. I'm trying to find it. Feel free to repost if I, for some reason, don't find your question. But I saw it, and I want to grab it. It was like right before we started getting really rolling on this thing. All right, well, I can't find it. Repost your question, please. You know who you are. You put it pretty early. Please repost your question so I can get it. All right, now, make sure I don't miss anything. On the way back down. Catch up to chat. The ancient game that I always play, right? Catch up to chat. All right, so Cancer Train. How do you think drama... I guess, do you think drama is required for FishTubers to rely on YouTube as a primary income? No. No, drama's not required. In my experience, most people who like fish want to talk about fish. Like, anytime I've seen somebody get overly dramatic about stuff, I've watched people lose subscribers or lose viewers because most fish people don't care. We want to talk about fish. We want to learn. Maybe we have a problem. We're hoping that next video is the one that helps us figure out that problem because we've been dealing with, I can't, for the life of me, I can't get rid of this algae, or for the life of me, I can't figure out what's wrong with this one fish. It's doing this thing and that thing, right? We don't care about drama. We don't. If you look at, like, drama attracts certain people, certainly. It's part of, like, how the human brain is wired. It just, like, it always wants to look at a train wreck, right? It's that age-old, like, the train wreck thing where people want to watch a train wreck, but it's never required. And there are so few who, like, use YouTube as their primary income. You have to be pretty large at that point. Like, YouTube, unless you're, like, doing everything under the sun to monetize the ever-loving bejesus out of your channel, and then I think that turns people off. Or at least, to me, it does. Like, I can't stand a million ads, but that's me. I don't think it's necessary. I think there are plenty of people who have gone plenty far, or are big, because they talk fish all the time. Aquarium Co-op's a great example. You know, Mike, Aquapros, right? Does all sorts of stuff. Look at... I know it's not main source of income, but the size of their channel, would be like Green Aqua, right? They do massive, incredible stuff. There's no drama there. It's education. It's all teaching all the time, or it's little challenges that become educational. It's not necessary. Not necessary at all. Not in this hobby. Maybe other forms of YouTube possibly, but not in this hobby. Not at all. Told like Aqua Designs, wondering why the volume of your flex is low. Is there a specified reason? A jumper, maybe. Actually, one of my SAEs that's in this thing did jump the other day, right after I'd water filled it. The big thing is mostly that I water change this thing about every 2 weeks just because of how my schedule is. I'm trying to fix some problems. I mostly need to get the lid back on this thing, and that will limit the evaporation that will happen out of it. A lot of it is just I work a ton, and I only get so much time. And one of the big problems is my sink that is here in my bedroom. This is my bedroom, and the master bath is over that way. The sink that's in my bedroom has some issue going with it. I need to get a plumber out here. And basically, I can only run the water at an extremely low flow rate, which is not enough to reliably drain this thing. So I actually have to get my Python to my sink downstairs, run the tube up my stairs to this. And it's like the very tail end of its distance capability. So it just becomes one of those things where, like, I need two people in order to water change the tank, because I gotta, like, literally scream at somebody, okay, start filling, okay, stop, start draining, right? Those kind of things. And it's a little bit of a hassle. I try not to, like, you know, make my lady do that too often. But I do have fish that have jumped. It's open top right now. There is a couple rainbows still in there. They're jumpy, so keeping it a little lower keeps it a little safer for them. There's a kind of couple things that happen there. Most of it is I only get so much time and I'm working too freaking much, but yeah. It's terrible, I know, but Jason Wasco, I hope I pronounced that right. Have you ever kept salt or strictly fresh? I personally have not kept salt water yet. I had, growing up, one of my neighbors had a saltwater tank. I've had lots of friends who keep salt water who are hobbyists. I've known some other people that have kept salt water who were like just family friends that happen to keep saltwater fish, but I personally have always kept freshwater fish. I will eventually change that. And the biggest thing is the only thing that really appeals to me in salt is clownfish hosting anemones. It's the only thing that I look at in saltwater that makes me go, that is the one thing I really want to keep. Most everything else I really enjoy is freshwater based. Corals are cool, but I hate having that much blue light. I like greens and reds in more natural lighting, and having that like intense blue light in order to make the corals survive is kind of just not my jam. But I have great friends that keep saltwater. I've got a buddy that I'm going to go see soon, Rogue Aquariums. He's got a 600-gallon massive reef tank that we did a little thing like right when he started to set it up. So we're going to go back here soon, and we'll show that bad boy off now that it's got fish and plants. He's got some really cool rare fish in there, ton of rare coral. Like it's looking pretty amazing. I won't lie. So I'm going to go out there and check that bad boy out there soon. Oh, chat jumped. That's how you know I'm really far behind. Fish Room Fever, a little $2 super chat. Hit the like button, please. Tickle the algorithm. I think that's going to be like become one of my catchphrases is to tickle the algorithm. I know I said it once and like because I thought it was humorous at the time, but man, Fish Room Fever. Also, clearly, my entire goal of the stream was to take Fish Room Fever down. Oh man. Joe Davis. I don't care about extensive list, but I do care about fish. What's your favorite color? Fish. Blue. Blue's my favorite color. So typically you'll find a lot of blue tones are my favorite fish. Orphan Slayer. I went on a vacation 3 days and came back to see a big ball of hair algae on the tips of my anacris. I dose every other day, and I couldn't dose for 1 day. Is that normal? So more than likely, if it's at the tips, it just means that there's too much light that's up here for the amount of flow. And there could have been some other imbalance that happened. It's pretty easy to usually fix hair algae problems because we can just pull back on feeding a little bit, maybe pull back on our dosing, or like spread our dosing out. But you've already kind of got your dosing spread out, so that should be okay. If it wasn't previously a problem because of your normal maintenance regime, it should go kind of back to normal now that you're back. It's just a little bit of work. That's pretty much it. But if it persists too long, like shoot me an email. We can troubleshoot and figure out what's going on. Paul Soltero, how's your pooch doing? Okay, for those that don't know, one of my dogs went through surgery. She had to have as we've delightfully called it, a lady lift, in order to make it so she doesn't have some problems in the future. She's doing very good. Her biggest problem is because of where her incision is, it causes a little bit of discomfort. And, dogs, when they have an itchy feeling or something like that, they have a tendency to like drop their butts and scoot on carpet. So temporarily, my poor puppy is wearing some doggy diapers so that she doesn't potentially tear the incision or the sutures while they're healing. She's been getting better. We're hoping she won't have to wear them much more than like another couple days, but requires a little extra supervision. My lady's brother who lives with us, as we refer to him as the uncle, he spends a lot of time with her and she absolutely adores him. So she gets a lot of love and a lot of attention. I very frequently will like wake up in the morning and go to take my like morning shower, and he'll like forgot to close his door and she's just like in there laying on the bed with him. Like nowadays she doesn't even bother to look up at me when I'm going to take a shower. She's just like, nah, I'm on the bed with my uncle. I don't care. But she's doing very good. She's looking great. She'll heal up. I think she gets all her stitches out in another like week. Yeah, next week actually. So she should be doing really good coming another week. Just a little bit more to medication, all the usuals when you're recovering from surgery. She's doing great. Thanks for asking, Paul. I appreciate it. Fish Guy Nick, any advice on getting rid of some annoying staghorn algae? Established planet tank. Man, so here's the thing. There's probably a lot of... I personally have never dealt with staghorn. I'm pretty lucky in that staghorn just has never shown itself. From my understanding, the 1-2 punch that you can use to do against blackbeard algae works fairly well against staghorn algae. So if you haven't seen that, there's on the planettank.net, just look up 1-2 punch algae in Google. You will find it. It's an article. Follow that thing to a T. It works very, very well. There's also some other good staghorn algae articles out there from people that really know how to fight it. But the biggest thing is, like, once if it settles in really, really bad, it can be really hard to remove because it grips onto things so well. But if you catch it early enough, you can fight it off pretty fast. So that would be my advice, is go look at the 1-2 punch method. It's very, very effective, especially with blackbeard, but it does work on staghorn typically. Check that out. Try doing that. It's very safe. Just follow it exactly as it's written. Don't deviate from it at all. That's part of what makes it safe and effective, is it's very well researched and very thorough. That doesn't mean it's hard to do. Just read that article a couple times and make sure you really know what's going on, figure it out, and then walk through the steps. Tommy G, Bentley, how is your Aquasky evaluation going? If you saw on Instagram recently, I put up a video of the tank where I'm testing it. I have a boose that's floating, that's flowering, and 5 different crypts, all with flower spades at the same time. Before putting the Aquasky in this tank, because this is 6 total crypt flower spades I've had in this tank so far, I have never had a flower spathe on a boose. Or not a boose, but on a crypt, ever. Any crypt in any tank. Does that answer the question? I don't want to give too much away, but so far, and I haven't even gone into pro mode. I haven't even tested my theoretical pro mode settings yet. This is just my auto mode on a very low dose CO2 tank. And everything looks good. Everything looks good. Everything's growing like crazy. In the ways that I want it to grow. Crypts are dense. Flower spades are coming up. Booses have been flowering. Seems pretty alright. Not gonna lie. On a 40 breeder, it's doing some work. But I still got a lot of stuff to test. I want to test some settings. Before I can do like the full ultimate guide, I really want to test a bunch of settings, find out what I really like. Although, based on my auto mode results, it's going to be hard to find settings much different than that I'm not going to just like be like, this is it, do this. Because it's been phenomenal for me. Michael, just found 2 mystery snail clutches in my 10-gallon. Nice. What size tank is a minimal requirement for about 200 snails? You know who's got great videos for doing mystery snails? Because it's not me. But there's a great one specifically on mystery snails and how he hatches them, feeds them, his snail jello. He's got several of them. That's going to be my good friend. And I just say that because I watch his channel a lot. Jadron Aquatics. Seriously. I'll even look one up. I'm sure, like, Mr. Sing's going to beat me to the punch because, you know, he's a wizard and stuff. But he's got this phenomenal video on mystery snails because he sells them online. And he's got a great way to basically farm them and be really effective. Let me make sure this doesn't make too much noise, but here it is. I'll link that video from Jadron Aquatics. Mystery snails with Jadron Aquatics. But it's a super good video, and he has another separate video on how he makes his snail jello, which is fantastic. So I would look at those two, but start with that one there, about how he breeds them. He mentions it. I think he links to the other one. Mitch, what does it take to buy fish wholesale? Do I just need a doing business as and a vendor's license? It kind of depends. You know, I'm not the best person to ask that question because I don't buy fish wholesale. And I don't have a business designed to sell fish. But seriously, I think most of it is just like having some level of store and getting in touch with the places like cichlid exchange, the wet spots, wholesale side, Segrist Farms, all those kind of places. It's mostly just having a business, getting in touch with them, and then they'll tell you what their requirements are in order to open accounts with them. A lot of it is just honestly contact, if there's a specific wholesaler you're interested in, contact them and ask them what they require for you to get on their list as a vendor. That's really all you need. If you're looking to like a bunch of different ones, they probably all have similar requirements if you just ask one. But just get a call and be like, hey, I'm blah, here's my plan. What all do you need from me in order to become one of your vendors? And they'll tell you because they like money. Right? Very simple. They like money. They're going to tell you how you can give them money. Mike Kinseth, Bentley, your plant tips video got me excited about your horticulture club. Oh, it's almost like that's the point. Also, like, I let the community vote, and they really wanted some more plant videos. I was jamming a few of those out. I got another one coming out this Saturday. I almost said Sunday. My brain is thinking too much about a bunch of work I have to do. But yeah. Rico Stan, what's up, buddy? We did a fantastic interview with Rico Stan on his channel, little live stream. Thought of you today, saw some Battletoads action figures. Nice. I didn't know they had action figures for the Battletoads. I'm such a nerd, I only think about the video game. Susan from SLC Aquatics, my adopted, like, fish aunt. I admire you for your standard, and I agree that names need not be called. Thank you, Susan. We live and learn by good criticism, and our failures are the greatest lessons. Susan, I appreciate you. I just want you to know that, but thank you so much. It's always good to see you when you have the chance to drop by. E-Littles, sorry to change the subject. This summer I'm planning to go on my first fish event. Any tips? Have fun? I guess it depends on what you mean by fish event. Is it like live collection? Because if so, then just like listen to the people who've been there multiple times. They're going to teach you, right? They're going to give you great advice. The people who've done it a ton, they're going to give you all the advice you need. Me who hasn't gone collecting, the most I've done is like caught fish off a dock or in a river or on a lake when I was a kid. But as far as like proper fish collection, if that's what you mean by fish event, listen to the veterans. They're going to help everybody who's been there the first time. Just don't be afraid to be like, hey, this is my first time doing this. What do I need to know? They'll walk you through everything you need to know because what they want more people to come back and have fun with them, right? That's most fish nerds. It's all about having fun. So have fun. That's my advice. Have fun. Daniel, how is the evolution of your master plant app/class coming along? Very good. We're looking current timeline. I had a meeting with the developer last Sunday. We got a bigger meeting this upcoming Sunday. Current timeline is basically we should be looking at testable in a month and hopefully launch live to everybody in July. It depends on, there's a few potential hiccups that can happen, so we're trying to buffer some time and be a little self-protective there. But we're looking really good in about a month to have something done and testable. I got a small group of people that I'm going to be reaching out to shortly to ask, would you like to test this? Some of which might be some of you long-term members. Spoiler. But basically, I want to get a lot of people's opinions. I want to make sure that people think it's easy to walk through. It's easy to understand. I'm not missing something that will help. I have to make a bunch of tutorial videos because I think that's also going to help. And then as long as it checks out, which it shouldn't really take too long to test, we'll go live. I'm really looking forward to that because it's kind of my gift to the hobby in a sense. And I really want it to just like be an awesome resource for people and not necessarily in my hands. Like it'll be in my hands for a while, but if it needs to go to somebody else to keep being a great resource long-term, it will. I want it to be good for the hobby, not good for me. Does that make sense? I hope it does, because I'm very fortunate that I have a fantastic club that has a lot of wonderful resources and programs. And I know a lot of people don't get that. And I want people to have that because it's such a fantastic experience. And it's one of the things that really hooked me hard in when I came back to this hobby, that made me go from like, oh yeah, I want to keep a fish tank or two, to like, I want to learn all the damn things. I want to really, that competitive spark that's in me, I want to know as much as I possibly can. I want to be amazing at these things. And it's the part of I think it's part of what also drove me to really want to do YouTube is I started learning and learning and learning and learning. And then I realized, like, so little of this is out there in an easily digestible format. Why? Solve that problem. And now that, like, you know, there's many things that are very fortunate in my life, so why not give back? Pay it forward, you know? It's something that was instilled in me by my mom, by my great grandmother. Just pay it forward. I'm having a good night, if you can't tell. Like, I did not get very much sleep, and I've been jazzed like all day for just knowing it's live stream day, knowing that, like, after this live stream I'm gonna go cook a nice dinner for my lady and the brother, which is effectively almost a brother-in-law at this point. Let's be fair. Raphael, some fish tubers are like schooling tetras, some are happy-go-lucky guppies, and some are red devil cichlids. Oh man, I'm probably like that that like the betta fish who kind of couldn't look like they're mean, but deep down is just like this lovable little, like, super inquisitive creature. or I'm a shell dweller, because I'm an engineer by nature, and I always want to, like, figure things out the right way and get it just the right way for myself. Connor, I'm starting to nerd out on rainbows. It's a nice feeling, isn't it? Just becoming a bowhead. It's wonderful. Thoughts on a good first starting rainbow project with smaller tanks? So less than a 40. Can I do anything in a 20? Yes, you can. And I would suggest a 20-gallon long instead of a 20 tall, right? Rainbows like that swim space linearly, not vertically. You got a couple great options. One, Melanitania pygmea. That's the pygmy rainbow. Really cool, kind of gunmetal color. Kind of like a bluish gray down low, but then the top gets this nice gunmetal gray, kind of darker gray color. Really great fish. Very small. In a 20 long, you can easily do like 15 of them if you have some good filtration or just really good plants. Just make sure they have upper and mid-level swim room. So don't make it too dense. Like, if you have some plants in the background and then, like, really low-lying plants up front and give them that nice swim space, they'll do great. Second option, any of the Rhamnocentris. So Rhamnocentris ornatus, and then there's lots of different catch points. They all stay very small. They're all gorgeous. They have kind of a torpedo body shape, so they don't get super tall, unlike some of the other rainbows, right, where they get those big humps to them, and that's one thing that some people don't necessarily like. I do, because they're goofy and beautifully colored, but I'm weird, right? But you can keep even more of those. I have a friend who breeds Rhamnocentris ornatus from Ceres Creek, which is absolutely stunning fish. Let me check if I still have that picture of the Ceres Creek. I know I do. One sec. I got this. I really want to show it, because this fish is so good looking. Bang. Let me see. I'm going to put this thing over my big fat head for a sec. Whoop. That. Right? So this is a Ceres Creek, and some of them get a little different. And there's also, I think, Carlin Creek is the other one that looks really similar to this. But this is a Rhamnocentris ornatus. There's a couple of different versions. So, like, another version, the one that I really like that I'm eventually going to do, is this guy here, which is called the Tiwa Creek. Oh my goodness, that picture is so huge. This is what you get for doing it live, right? You're just going crazy. Bam, this guy. All this beautiful orange and black. Ooh, yeah. But they're great little fish. They don't get very big. Because they don't get super tall, they actually stay very small. Typically about 2 to 2.5 inches is about as big as they get, unless you get a really old male. They're a dwarf rainbow. They're super, super awesome. Great in a 20 long. Those would be your two best options. The final one that you can do a little bit less of them, just because they'll get a little bit bigger, but we like the Melititania praecox, which is the dwarf neon rainbow. I would say, between 8 and 10 is pretty good in a 20 long. Again, I would super stress 20 long, or you can do a 29 gallon, get a little extra height, but have that similar footprint. You want that footprint with extra room, so they've got room to swim, because they love swim space. All great starter rainbow fish. The Radnocentra is going to be a little harder to find. However, very frequently available. On Aquabid, the buyer that I would look at, and also I think Dan's Fish carries them. But if you do Aquabid, that's Roseline 17. That's Marcel, who's out in Wisconsin. He's one of the absolute best rainbow fish breeders in the United States. He's an absolute boss and a wonderful human being. He's got like 4 or 5 different versions of the Radnocentris. They're all beautiful. Maybe one day, guy who just put some super chats up there, Bob Steenfot, will have some. I super hope he will, because he talks to another wonderful rainbow breeder that I know. Bob's just bombing me over here. But, and I think, like I said, Dan's Fish, I think, carries them. Definitely Roseline 17 on Aquabid if you want to get Radnocentris. The other two are a little easier to find, the Pygmea and the Praecox. All good starters, Connor. All good starters. All right. Man, I'm so far behind on chat. I'm gonna jump a little bit, guys. Again, if I miss your question, don't be afraid to repost it. Just don't spam it too hard, okay? Master Photographer, Bentley, your videos and live streams are among my favorites. I just want you to know how much you're appreciated. Master Photographer, you always have like the most wonderful comments. Your comments always, every time I see them, I know I'm going to smile. You're going to be great. Oh, is that Steenfot has rads from Mark? Is that Mark or Marcel? Do you mean from Marcel? I think you do, Bob. Bob's just like bombing me with $1 super chats and a $2 there. Matt H, welcome, becoming a rainbow fish. What's up? Make sure you get the Discord invite. Make sure. There's always some fun conversations. We got great people. We got some plant nerds doing some amazing stuff, like even better than me, I would argue, on the Discord. And then my buddy Jason, Redfish, Bluefish. Sorry I'm late. Good to see you, amigo. We were behind on like 2 to 3 taco sessions. Yeah, easily 2 to 3. Those tacos are so good. Out by Redfish, Bluefish, out by his store, he has the best taco place I've ever been to. Just straight up, the best taco place I've ever been to. And I have family that lives in a place that is very heavily Latin culture. Right? Because they live in Eastern Washington, where there's a lot of rural area. There's a lot of seasonal farm workers that come up. Still, the best tacos I've ever had. Ooh, so good. A place called Rocket Taco. If you're ever, there's one in Seattle, and then there's one out by Redfish, Bluefish. If you're ever over here, go there. You will not be disappointed. It is great. Okay, Bob has them from Roseline 17. Bob's just like blowing my channel up. What are you doing to me, Bob? You, sir, you and I got to talk here soon, too. All right. Back to questions. Work, Bentley, work. Paul Soltero, that looks like a skinny Bosemani. Very close, right? Rads are such cool fish. Rads are rad. I try not to do that like dumb dad pun, but like it's so accurate. They're such rad fish. They're absolutely amazing. Igor, or as I sometimes like to say, Igor whenever I see that, because, iPhone spelled the same way. Are you sure it's a friend just asking for a friend? Well, it's not a friend, but it's a friend. Faye Doyle, man, that fish, though. I know, right? Just gorgeous. Dude, so many of the rads, they are one of the most, I think, and I bet Bob would agree, underappreciated of the rainbows. And it's partially because they're not as prolific in the hobby like your Bosemani, your turquoise, and all those bigger boys. Or when we get to like the Pseudomagills, right? And that's the other option for that 20 long. If you want to do Pseudomagills, great. But we all know Ben likes the big boy rainbows. I like all my big fat dum-dums, as I sometimes like to call them, but they're so gorgeous. Yeah. Steve, Rocket Taco is what happens after you eat Taco Bell. Woo! This is how you could tell deep down inside my brain. My sense of humor is like tops age 12. Tops age 12. Oh, oh. You guys are fogging up my eyes. I'm laughing too hard at how dumb I am. Oh, oh Lord. Okay, I can breathe, I promise. Kelly Foreman, are we doing a super chat train for Bentley? Choo choo. Maybe for the puppy. I appreciate that, Master Photographer. Okay. I gotta find questions so I don't just like sit here and laugh like an idiot for the last like 15 minutes of the stream. John Ebson. Yes, someone I got my super red bristle nose from. I've got a 55 that is empty and thinking about rainbows. Would Bozeman Eye fit in your 55, or is a 55 too narrow? No, Bozeman Eye do fantastic in 55 gallons. Now, me personally, I'm not a fan of that narrow tank. I like the 75. However, rainbows don't necessarily care. If we plan it right, so if you use like more crypts and lower level plants instead of anything super tall, or some kind of Java fern pushed toward the back, and give them that good swim space, it doesn't matter. I would especially look for, if you can find them, there's the Aves Creek Rainbows, which are a smaller one. They're a Bozeman Eye species. Look a lot like the Atinjo, but they get smaller because they're a creek version of a Bozeman Eye. The Atinjo is also very good, or they'll commonly nowadays call them from distributors like the Red Bozeman Eye. I hate that name personally. I like the catch locations, but as long as it's not like the standard Ayamaru, that more yellowish orange Bozeman Eye, those are the ones that get the biggest. Those are the guys that get like 5.5 inches. All the other ones that tend to be more red in color get smaller. Shoot me an email, John, because there's a local seller who's a little up toward the north end, not super north like you, but he's actually got a bunch of young Aves Creek that he's been selling at a really good price. And I know him. He's a good rainbow guy. That's Hoon Aquatics, who was in chat, by the way, which if you just go to his channel, you could probably reach out to him. But yeah, he's got a bunch of them raising up, and I'm probably going to talk to him about them too at some point. I made him a deal at one point that I would give him a 150-gallon acrylic that I have. That's right. I just have a 150-gallon acrylic lying around for a whole bunch of his rainbows. But he did mention that he doesn't know where he would put that tank, so haven't sealed the deal on that bad boy yet. There you go. Yeah, Mr. Singh Lincoln, Roseline 17. He's got the Carlin Creeks and the Tewa Creeks for the Radnocentris. Woo, they're such good fish. Dave from Iowa. Bentley, I'm rescuing a Betta from a gallon bowl, putting in a 7.5 gallon. Good on ya. I have 8.2 pH, buffering with purified drinking water, water sprite, and Anubias. Any other recommendations? Dwarf aquarium lily. Or anything that's going to get that nice big pad. Anubias can do it, but like a dwarf aquarium lily, those big pads, man, Bettas love those. They just lay on them. It's like a big hammock for them. Danger Noodle also loves those things, if you didn't know. Like anything he can hammock across, it's his best friend in the whole wide world. But especially for Bettas, like when they like to rest, they love laying on leaves. If you've got like a Cophifolia or one of the slightly broader leafed Anubiases, you'll be great there. It sounds great. 7.5 gallons, some plants, doing a little buffer to bring that pH down a touch. All these things sound perfect. I think you're on the exact right track. That Betta is going to love life. I'm actually putting together, pretty soon, a Betta tank for my lady's brother, the uncle, the doggy uncle, right? He's told me I would like to have a Betta, and I said, I know a couple places where we can get some good Bettas. We can do this. I got a spare few tanks lying around. And it was kind of one of those things where it's just like, do we want to do a 10 gallon? How much room do you want? We're looking at his room. We're looking at stuff. We're talking about stuff. So I'm going to teach him about planet tanks. We're going to get a nice habitat for a Betta. It's going to be chill. Probably going to find a pretty nice looking Betta because I'm willing to buy him a nice Betta. I know some places to get some Bettas. I'm just saying. Might be some online. Might be some local. Well, I'm not sure which one we're going with, but we'll find one. He was a big fan. We had to go to, when we went to get the puppy, I'll tell you the story because I think it's kind of funny and cute. When we realized that my dog Lulu was going to be scooting because she was irritated and wanted to itch things on her bum, there's like 15 minutes before the local Petco was going to close. And normally I'm not a big Petco person, but for some of the dog stuff, it's easy, right? Need to go get doggy diapers. My lady calls in and was like, do you have these in stock? And they're like, yeah. How big's your dog? It's like, she weighs this much. It's like right on the cusp between two different sizes. Like, okay, we close in like 15 minutes. It's like, oh, don't worry, he's on the way. Just, can you set him aside for Bentley? Like, yeah. And so they grab two different sizes, right? I get in there, and he's coming with me, and we're getting him, and he's like, kind of just glancing over at the Bettas. It's just something he's done a couple times when we've gone in to like get some doggy toys or whatever, like small stuffed animals that are cheap and all that kind of stuff. And he saw for the first time, which they call it a paradise Betta there, but it's what we would normally call a mustard gas, right? Blue body, yellow finish, blue border. And I just hear this, ooh. Because he hadn't seen one like that yet. And I was like, all right, we want something a little more fancy, not just your standard like red or blue. And don't get me wrong, I love a standard veil-tail Betta. I've had lots in my life. But I just heard that little, ooh. I was like, just getting excited about fish, which makes me kind of excited. Because like my house is full of rainbow fish. But I do love Bettas. I had lots as a kid. I've had some recently. Remember we had tails in this tank for a while. I've had a couple of rescues that I've had too. But just, we're going to look out. We're going to have a sweet little build. We'll do a whole build video for it too. It'll be fun. I think we'll enjoy it. We'll hang out with the doggy uncle. Kelly Foreman, guess who has two thumbs and just got Cali Tawa from Hoon Aquatics? Oh, I'm jealous. I'm jealous. Those Tawas are great though, aren't they? And plus, like, he's been breeding them real well. He's got a good number of them. I joked that I was going to, like, show up out of nowhere and tell him I want 100 of them. Bob, I own Hoon Aquatics and Rainbows. Hoon, put in the super chat for the Suna McGills. Give him some love. I know, I love the big boys, but I like Suna McGills too. I think the big thing is, like, the one Suna McGill I really want to keep is brackish, which is the Cyanodorsalis. It's like Gary Lang's favorite Suna McGill. And I don't know that I want to do the work for a brackish tank. So I'll have to find a way to live vicariously through other people. Bill Coleman. Hey, thanks for getting your membership from Autosynclus. Secretly might be actually my favorite tier. To Suna McGill. It's appreciated. But we'll be doing some stuff. I've actually got some changes coming to membership soon. I keep saying that, but I need to actually go through and do them. Raphael. Bentley, what is your favorite hat? So actually, I'm wearing one I haven't worn yet because this just showed up. This is the Tacoma Rainiers, if you don't know, which is a local AAA ball club. So that's the AAA ball club for the Seattle Mariners, which, you know, the Seattle Mariners kind of suck, but I love them because they're my team, even if they make me depressed all the time. But what's my favorite hat? Of the ones I own, it's actually one that I wore yesterday. Now, my girlfriend bought me a custom hat that has to do with not sports whatsoever. And I really like that hat a lot. So I'll probably be wearing that in a live stream soon. Or you might see it in a video, because I think I'm going to be wearing it in a video I'm filming soon. Or rather, editing. I've filmed it. I need to edit it. But yeah. Blake's Aquatics, what's up, buddy? You'll see it. Don't worry. It's an all black hat with a purple logo. That's the spoiler. And it has nothing to do with sports. Bob, I only take my hat off for two things. Is one of them nuclear war? Blake's Aquatics, I'm going to try and catch some wild rainbow fish next week. Fingers crossed for me. Oh, dude, that sounds so fun. You have to let me know where you're going, like which of the creeks or rivers you're going to. I'm curious what rainbow you're after. Hold on. There was a question in here. I know I need to answer it. It was about Chilatharina Eleni Wapoga. Howard's Aquatics. Bentley, who has the C. Eleni Wapoga? So, on Aquabid, I think the only one I've seen recently was All Oddball Aquatics, which is Eric Bodrock. Roseline 17 has the Sirawu location, which is very similar, a little bit different coloration, but actually I think a really cool looking fish. Just the Eleni Wapoga is such a striking fish, it's hard not to love it, right? Trying to think. I think Dan's Fish had them for a while, and I don't know if they're on the list of what the breeder that Bob works with will eventually have. I can't remember on the top of my head if that person is breeding them. I'm not going to give away his secrets, but I think it is. I think it is. Bob, surely if he's still here, will mention it in chat. But it's interesting how they're both kind of easy to find and kind of hard to find, because there is a distributor that gets them every once in a while, and it's deep down, it's like chain. It's from a farm that got their line from Gary Lang directly, so it's the right line. The other place you might try, actually, for that one specifically, is the Wet Spot Tropical Fish online. That's another good place that regularly tends to get them in. Bob, what, when, where, why? Do you know if you're a rainbow fish person, Mr. Steenfot, has C. Eleni Wapoga? And will you be carrying them whenever you get back to full Steenfot Aquatics power? That might help somebody. Chevy fish. A good plant question to kind of get toward the end of the night. If I miss your question, by the way, please don't hesitate to email me, bentley.pasco@gmail.com. Right now, it takes about 3 or 4 days for me to get back to folks, but I will get back to you, I promise, and I will help you. I'm not trying to push anything off. I want to help as many people as I can, but let's get to that thing. Can Bulbitis heteroclita... Oh, I almost always butcher that last one every time because I'm so used to Hootalodi that's easy. Grow plantlets from their leaves like Java fern. So Bulbitis has its child plants come off a little differently than the way Java fern does. But yes, they do create a child plant in a very similar fashion. So you will get them. It just tends to be slower and not as quick if you do it right when it comes to Java fern. But you can get them. You also will get like little plantlets that'll spawn off at the bottom where the rhizome is. But yeah, it's a little weirder to do off of Bulbitis in general than it is with all the Java fern species. Kevin, thank you so much for your help. Hey buddy, it's been great. I noticed you changed your name there a little bit. Canines and Aquatics. Good combo. Dogs and fish. I'm a fan, obviously, as I have dogs and fish. But I kind of like all pets. I'm just a weirdo. I love everything. I love it all. Imperial Tropicals gets some of their fish from Jeffrey Christensen out of Indonesia. He's a really good guy. He's done collecting with Gary Lang and all the names that you could ever know. He's been out with a bunch of them. Hey, he's getting himself around, Mr. Jeffrey. Working with all sorts of people. Dale Murray, welcome to Student McGill. Thank you. Tail end. We'll get one more question before we go. Coming up very, very soon is Dr. Black at, 12 minutes from now? Very, very soon. 7:15 Pacific time, my time. I don't know what time it is in the future there in Australia, but it's time to have a beverage with Dr. Black. That's what it is. Fishy Mailman. I picked up a false tiger knifefish. Oh, man, this is going to be hard. Gymnotus javari? I'm sure I got that first part wrong. Information is slim to non-existent. Super cool oddball if you ever need a knife. Interesting. I'll have to look that up because it sounds cool. I want to look it up after stream though. And I want to get another question in. I don't want to take too much time away from that. But let me see here. There was another question I saw not too far off that I kind of skipped in the barrage of Mr. Steenfot throwing super chats at me. I appreciate it, Bob, by the way. It's good to see you, buddy. Fadoel, just started my first plant tank using your lasagna method for substrate. Thanks for the tips. Okay, well, that wasn't a question. I thought it was. You're welcome. I hope it works. I've had a lot of success doing it, but I've had a lot of success doing a lot of stuff, so it just goes to show that there's no one proven method. A former teacher of mine used to say that there's 11 correct answers to everything. And it kind of got away from some of the other ways that people might say that same saying, but basically that there's more answers than you think there are. It's just about looking for them and trying different things. Oh, here's a Frog and Stork. this is what I was looking at. Plants that are known as marsh plants have a better chance in hard water given that they get root tabs. Your opinion, please. So, most marshes, because of a matter of how they exist, tend to create more acidic water. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's soft water, although most commonly it is. The big thing is, because there's a lot of decaying matter in a marsh in general, that causes more and more of that decomposition, which means more of our nitrate cycle, which means more acidification. Because as we walk through the nitrogen cycle, right, that process of nitrification, turning ammonia to nitrite to nitrate, just like we do in our filters, that naturally acidifies the water slowly but surely. And in a large ecosystem like that, I think your black water systems too, this happens on a much larger scale, right? However, you get similar marsh environments like where mangrove grow, right? So you get some that actually are very mineral rich, whether it's because they interact with like brackish water, like in the case of mangroves, or just because of some of the other things that are there. You can have a lot of these plants that come from marshes do well in hard water. And an example of how this kind of changes is when the water is really hard, it's a lot harder for the plant to absorb its nutrients out of the water column, right? It's much easier to pull everything from the roots. So your suspicion, or whether you're just like, hey, I want you to talk about this because I know this to be true, whichever it might be, can only learn so much by reading someone's statement in type, right? Much like with that tip I talked about with Pogostemon erectus, when it can pull from the roots, it will do very well in hard water. So a lot of plants can, not all, some just hate hard water and can't stand it because it's too hard on how they naturally acclimate to nutrient uptake. But any plant that grows a pretty robust root system can handle harder water if they have the nutrients available and the right root system, right? If everything's at the roots, we have a good robust root system, and we have nutrients available at the roots, those plants can change the way that they uptake their nutrients to a fashion that is easier, as my corgi is barking his brains out, than pulling it from the water column where soft water is significantly easier, right? All those extra minerals can hamper the way that they absorb the things they need. Your nitrogens, your phosphates, your phosphoruses, all those things, your micros, right? At the roots, it's very easy. But not every plant is good at adjusting itself to uptaking a majority of its nutrients from the roots. And this tends to be most of our stems. But if you look at things like epiphytes, some of the more reedy stems, so like if a great example is like Persicaria or many of the Hygrophila species, where they have a much stiffer, kind of like a reed or more stick-like in nature, right? Those tougher stems, those plants tend to do better adjusting to harder water. Things like Rotalas, some of the Ludwigias, where they have a much softer stem to them, they're more flexible in nature. Those plants do not do well adjusting to hard water. They really rely on water column fertilization and being in softer water. Now, you can do certain things to help a plant overcome some of this stuff, but thriving versus surviving becomes very different. And that's where the difference is. The ones that can thrive have to be good at uptake through the roots and tend to be less of your like river system style plants. So a lot of your like myriophyllums or your Rotalas, those kind of big, soft things that tend to be really aggressive growers, right? Those don't tend to do very well in hard water. But our epiphytes and some of our tougher stems, if you will, can do very well in hard water. Good question. I actually think that's a really cool conversation piece. I think I could probably do a far more researched version of that and talk about it in a video, but I think it's good for the stream. All right, gang. We're going to call that a night. And Pulsatera has a great comment. Some marsh boggy environments are very nutrient poor. Yeah, definitely, right? Pitcher plants, Venus flytraps, great examples. And for the most part, they tend to be not tons of stuff. But there are some that have more nutrients to them, and you get some more interesting stuff, or like things where there's some mixture of brackish water, like where mangroves grow, right? Regardless, we're going to call that a night, folks. I really, really hope you've enjoyed the stream. I hope you enjoyed the topic. If for some reason you're tuning in later, maybe go back, watch the replay. I think I only talked like 20 minutes for it, but I think the topic's really important. It's really, really important for a more philosophical approach to FishTube, at least how I see things. And maybe we'll make it a video, who knows. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. If I missed your question, shoot me an email, bentley.pasco@gmail.com. Go check out Dr. Black after this. And as always, stay awesome. Camera like wigging out.